this is my audience. Okay. If you attend high school, there will come a point where you and your peers are funneled into a room to stare at a computer screen for hours on end. Answering seemingly meaningless questions, standardized testing has become an essential part of the American school system, whether it be state testing or the SAT or ACT. You've most likely taken a standardized test before. Sure, they may be annoying, but they do determine many important things for your school and your future. However, have you ever thought about how your score might not accurately reflect you? I believe that standardized testing should be reformed to measure students' intelligence more accurately and be more inclusive of different students. In my speech today, I will cover how the test measures intelligence, what standardized testing is like in low-income areas, and how it harms students with mental disabilities. Let's start with how standardized testing works and what goes into your score. Standardized test examinations are administered in a predetermined manner. Typically, they rely heavily on questions in formats such as multiple choice and true and false. These questions are designed in a way in order to be able to be automatically scored. Standardized tests are used to measure academic aptitude and achievement. This method is thought to be fair. However, the School of Education points out that this demonstrates bias. By issuing the same questions, it fails to consider students of a different background. The test also focus on reading, writing, and mathematics while devaluing education in arts, history, and elective education, making it difficult for students to exceed in their specialties. The current construction of standardized testing doesn't just harm students, teachers also have to work with the expectations these tests present them. Oftentimes, this makes educating the students more difficult. A student's performance is often used as a reflection of the teacher. Due to focus on specific subjects, teachers are instructed to teach the test rather than providing a broad curriculum. They may feel pressure from their students and school administrators to prove in student scores on standardized tests due to the assumed strong correlation between achievement-based scores and testing effectiveness. This assumption can place the blame on good teachers if the scores are low and uplift deficiencies in bad teachers if the scores are high. This assumption can funding of a school may be cut if testing scores are poor, which in turn makes it harder for faculty to educate their students. Micah Isit writes in his summary Standardized Testing and Overview that a 2015 Gallup poll showed that 64% of people polled thought that public schools put too much stress on standardized testing. Now let's look at what standardized testing is like for low-income areas. Liz Menio writes for the Harvard Gazette, states that researchers discovered that the wealthiest 1% of Americans are 13 times likelier than the children of low-income families to score 1,300 or higher on the SAT/ACT tests. Further, a conductor of the study reports that these differences start from a young age. The Gazette interviews David Deming, one of the 3 writers of the paper that was published. He states that from the first day students show up in kindergarten, there are differences in vocabulary and willingness to learn between low-income and high-income students. The differences only get more severe as children age. Children that come from wealthier families have the means to extra education such as summer camps and experience more sports and work opportunities. For children from the bottom 20% of the income population, only about a quarter of them take the SAT or ACT. Among these, only 2% score 1,300 or higher. This is compared with the 80% of students who take the test and 17% who score 1,300 or higher. Standardized testing scores play a huge role in the college application process. These tests do predict whether you're ready to do college-level work or not. The issue is good scores are limited to students who have the resources to succeed. The scores received are an accumulation of unequal opportunities and different backgrounds for 18 years of a person's life. I interviewed my own high school principal on this subject, and when asked if standardized testing should be the same for people of different incomes, he replied, saying that judging people on the same plane will not work out, that it was like putting a fish in a bear in a climbing competition. Now, lastly, we'll be looking at how students with mental disabilities perform on standardized tests and how it affects them. The Neurohealth Organization states in an article that students with disabilities are often struggle on standardized tests, and the tests are limiting on those with disabilities. The challenge associated with methods or elements used in the test is one of the main reasons this occurs. For example, some tests may be inappropriate for students with significant disabilities. If a student has difficulty reading, they may have trouble deciphering test questions. If a student is task averse, a long and grueling test with little breaks may reduce their ability to do well. Time is a crucial part of these tests. Nearly all standardized tests are timed, which cause roadblocks for students with learning disorders. A student struggling with comprehension may require additional time to read and understand the problem. Time can also expire, meaning students who take longer may not get through all of the questions, resulting in a lower score. When a student with disabilities struggle with these tests that are not built for them, they may struggle with their self-esteem and question their abilities. In these types of students, the risk of dropping out or being held back goes up. NeuroHealth continues to write that the grade retention are higher among students with disabilities, despite the fact that holding students back has been proven to be an ineffective way to boost academic achievement. Certain accommodations are provided for students during standardized testing, yet some may be denied access to them, or parents are unaware of what accommodations can benefit their children. Today we discussed how standardized test assessment assesses students and what this process is like for students in low-income areas and students with disabilities. I believe standardized testing is an unfair system that does not reflect students well. I would like the test to measure students' intelligence more accurately and be more inclusive of different students. If this cannot happen, it should be removed from public education. I would like to see tests that are able to highlight each student's talents while not being a one-size-fits-all series of questions. Maybe in the future, standardized testing won't be staring at a monitor in silence, instead a way to prove your individual worth.